Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dylan, and welcome to Dylan the Truth podcast. If you guys are new to this channel, I want you guys to subscribe to this channel and also hit the like button. Deeply appreciated. Um, I'm here to talk about the World Cup and what's been going on in the knockout rounds. I'm just gonna go over really quick of the teams that won and moved on to the quarterfinals. So I'm gonna start off with the game against Netherlands versus USA. The Netherlands won 3-1. I expected that. I never thought that US was a threat to Netherlands. I knew, I predicted that Netherlands was going to beat US 2-0, but they ended up winning 3-1. So I wasn't really far off. But that was expected. Netherlands were too much for the US. The next game was Argentina versus Australia. Argentina beat Australia 2-1. It got pretty interesting in the end. Obviously the goalkeeper of Argentina saved the day. It could have easily went to extra minutes, possibly penalty kicks, but he made a huge save in the end where Argentina escaped with the win. So they move on. They will face the Netherlands. And I'll get into the next matchup just a little later on. The next match was France versus Poland. It was expected that France was going to beat Poland. Poland was no match. France has a star-studded team, so we knew, this was going to happen. End up beating Poland 3-1. No surprise. The next game was England versus Senegal. England beat Senegal 3-0. Pretty much everybody knew that England was going to win. I felt Senegal in most of the first half was competitive, and then it seemed like they burned out towards the end of the first half going into the second half. So we knew it was just a matter of time until England took over, and that's exactly what happened. And that's what you had, a 3-0 victory for England. The next game was pretty competitive. Japan versus Croatia. It was tied 1-1 in regulation. Obviously went into overtime and then eventually went into penalty kicks. Croatia beat them 3-1 in penalty kicks. I thought I was actually rooting for Japan to win, but kudos to Croatia for hanging in there and getting the job done. Obviously, experience counts for a lot, and they have a lot of experience on that team. It was basically a tale of experience versus heart, and experience won in that one. Brazil versus South Korea. Well, everyone knew what was going to happen. We knew that Brazil was going to win. Brazil dominated this team 4-1. Brazil scored 4 goals in the first half alone. Within 30 minutes, they had 4 goals. It was already over by the time it was 2-0. I was like, yeah, Korea was no match for Brazil. You saw it that Brazil was just too much, way too talented for South Korea. And kudos to them. They got pretty far. They beat pretty good teams to get there. They beat who did that? I think they beat Spain, and also they lost to Ghana, and then they tied with Uruguay. But the win against Spain is what got them through, and eventually eliminated Germany. They had a good run, but once you run into a powerhouse like Brazil, it's just a matter of time until they put them to bed. Morocco versus Spain. This was a very entertaining game. It was really intense. It was 0-0 in regulation. regulation, going to overtime. Then it eventually went to penalty kicks. Morocco won the penalty kicks 3-0. Um, I was so happy because it's an African squad, so I'm always gonna root for the African team. So I was really happy about that. I mean, you could say that Morocco could be possibly the dark horse in this tournament so far because they could be a really dangerous team. So none of these teams, whoever is going up against Morocco, I mean, you got your hands full. It's not going to be a cakewalk, I'll tell you that. And then the last game was Portugal versus Switzerland. I thought that Switzerland would have put up more of a fight. They could have possibly surprised Portugal, but clearly that wasn't the case. Portugal dominated Switzerland 6-1. I mean, it was an embarrassing effort from Swiss. It was strange because Ronaldo didn't start. Ronaldo was on the bench, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us thought that okay, Portugal's gonna be in trouble because Ronaldo didn't start, but actually they played better when he was on the bench. So I mean, the question would be like, do they continue to keep Ronaldo on the bench, or do they bring him in for the quarterfinals? I mean, that's up in the air. Personally, I really believe that they're gonna put him in for the quarterfinals. I don't see them benching him because he's too big of a player, and obviously, yes, maybe a lot of people say that he's like a drama queen or whatever, but he still is a threat on the field. So there's no doubt about that. So I don't see them benching him again. What did they do? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. So those are the results in the knockout round. So now we're into the quarterfinals. And the matchups are basically Argentina versus Netherlands, Brazil versus Croatia, what's it? Portugal versus Morocco, and France versus England. I'll give my predictions on all four of those matchups. I'll start with the Netherlands versus Argentina. This game, it could go either way. Obviously, a lot of people are going to say Argentina is going to come out of it, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. Something tells me they will prevail, Argentina. It might be a close one. I say that Argentina wins 2-1. It'll be a close one. I think one of the players from Argentina is going to score like towards the end, maybe in extra minutes, and then they move on. The next matchup in that side of the group would be Brazil versus Croatia. I know Croatia is going to get physical with Brazil. I mean, that's all they basically can do, because if you're going to play that finesse game against Brazil, you're going to get blown out of the water. So I know Croatia is going to have some sort of game plan where they're going to try to rough up the players, try to get them out of the game. But all in all, I think Brazil is a little too much for them. They will figure out a way to crack through their little defensive scheme. And I believe Brazil will win that game 3-1. It's just, I think Croatia will play hard for the first half, maybe going into the second half, and then they're going to start to burn out as the game starts to wane. Yeah, I say 3-1 for Brazil. I mean, it's just a little bit too much for Croatia. That's my prediction on that. The next game is France versus England. This is going to be a really big one. You could go either way with either one. I mean, they kind of evenly match, but obviously the best player is Mbappe in France. He's gonna present a problem just because of his speed. He's a pretty good playmaker. So I don't see anybody on England that could really slow them down. That's going to be something they have to do by committee. But if I have to pick a winner, I will say France, and it might be a close one. I would say 2-1 France, and they move on. That's just my prediction on that game. And the last one, I believe, Morocco versus Portugal. For me, I'm rooting for Morocco, because it's an African team. I'm going to root for them. Um, this has been the Cinderella team of the tournament so far. Like I said earlier, they could really be a dark horse in this tournament. I believe they're capable of beating Portugal. I really do. Like if they were to bring that same kind of energy, that fight, as they, for their last game against Spain, I really believe they could pull an upset because they're not the favorites going into this matchup. Clearly, it's Portugal. So, if I had to pick a winner, this is a tough one. If I have to pick a winner, I might go with the dark horse on this one. I say Morocco wins. I say Morocco wins 2-0. That's my prediction on that game. They might shock the world with that one. A lot of people are gonna pick Portugal. Rightfully so. They got Cristiano Ronaldo. They got a bunch of other players. Veteran team. So I don't know. Especially with the situation going on with Cristiano Ronaldo, we don't know if he's gonna start or is he gonna be on the bench. That remains to be seen. So until we have some kind of clarity about that, then you could kind of sway your decision depending on if he starts or if he doesn't. In my opinion, I think they play better when he's on the bench because clearly, did you see what they did to Switzerland? 6-1, and he was on the bench. I'm pretty sure Cristiano Ronaldo's thinking, man, they played much better without me on the field. So I don't know. That's going to be a tough decision for the head coach. That's up to him what he wants to do with that situation. But that's my prediction on that. So I believe when it comes to the semis, it will be Brazil and Argentina, which would be box office. And then I believe it would be France versus Morocco. And then, I could go a little further. I think Brazil takes out Argentina. And I believe France beats Morocco. Brazil, France meets in the finals. I got Brazil beating France 2-1. Because France is a pretty tough team. They're very deep as well, just like Brazil. So it's going to be a really good fight. And it's going to be a really good matchup. I'm just hoping for that to happen. But there's a great possibility that it could happen. So that's just my prediction. I'm still sticking with my pick. I still have Brazil winning the whole thing. Just because, from top to bottom, they're loaded. They pretty much don't have any weakness. Their defense is solid. They have a lot of threats on the offensive end. Anybody could hurt you at any given time. That's what makes that team so dangerous. Whereas with these other teams, they rely on maybe one, maybe two guys for them to get going. Brazil have too many guys that you have to worry about. So that's why I have them, holding that trophy at the end of the day. And I really believe that could happen. The only thing, there's a caveat to that. If Brazil does not, play around with their opponents and take them lightly, one of these teams could surprise them. But if they're on their A game, mark my word, ain't nobody beating them. I don't care who that team is. Nobody is beating Brazil when they're on their A game. And they're playing like they want to really win this title. Because now you're hearing what's going on with Pele. I mean, that's going to give them even extra motivation for them to win it all. So they're going to be doing this for Pele. So I believe, they're on a serious quest, and, they're going to end up holding that trophy. I really believe it. Brazil all the way. That's my squad. And, that's who I predict is going to win the whole thing, and I'm going to stick with that pick. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into this video. Deeply appreciate it. Until next time, peace.